Welcome to the Kayla Lee Show. We're about to leave behind those old school beliefs and those low vibe limitations that lead you to exhaustion and to burnout as you grow your business. Together, we will explore how you can 2x your revenue in the next 90 days, how you can reclaim back 10 plus hours of your week, how you can rapidly create a multi-6-figure business or a 7-figure business in less than 12 months.
That one decision to take the first step brought me to the top of the ladder. Was it hard? Heck yeah. When I started to be taken seriously and I saw that people see me as someone who can influence them in their knowledge and education, I realized that I cannot treat this as a hobby anymore because people take me seriously. So if people take my craft seriously, I need to start to take it seriously as well. And when I speak, I need to speak out of knowledge and experience, not out of luck, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started, like pretty much after my first class, I started to dedicate 2 to 3 hours to my craft every day. So regardless of how busy, how tired, how exhausted I was,
excuses.
My mannequin doll in between my legs on the couch for 3 hours every day. If I flip the hair over and then one under, what do I get? If I'm flipping the hair to the side instead to the other side, what do I get? So I was like literally discovering a new technique and new things about hair and products on a daily basis, which brought me from here down here to up here in a very short period of time because of those 2-3 hours that I was putting into my craft every day. So it might look easy from the outside and from what we're posting and saying, but the hard work that was put into it for me to excel into this craft was immense, was big, was huge, was hard. And it was hard work because I was still working 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I didn't quit on my jobs overnight because I couldn't yet, and I was still having a family that I needed to take care of it. And I still had my job as a property manager from 9 to 5. And I was still going on weekends sometimes when I didn't have classes to do seniors hair and taking care of my daughter and all that. So it looks like it was easy and I was lucky and I was blessed, but it was a lot of hard work and a lot of prayers behind that. But I will tell you one thing, and this is one thing that I want people to take from my classes or from my speeches every time I talk or my podcast interviews, is that nothing is going to change in your life unless you change something. If you're doing the same every single day and you expect different results, it will not happen. And the most important thing that I learned in life is that who you hang out with matters. Because if you hang out with people that only talk about their dreams on a daily basis and all they do is complaining instead of finding solutions for their problems, you are not going to grow. And until I changed the circles that I was hanging out into and with, my life didn't change until I started to hang out with people that had a vision, that had dreams, that had plans, that were working towards those dreams and those plans. I did not feel motivated to do anything. I was just like going in the same circle with my friends and complaining and complaining and complaining about my job, about the things that I don't like in my life. But I was not changing anything to change into better. So with that being said, in March of 2015, I got a phone call from a salon owner in LA that asked me to be part of a new concept education called Butterfly Circus, where 6 to 7 educators would teach in 3 hours instead of 1 for 3 hours. And I said yes because the money was really good without putting a lot of questions, just to find out when we got closer to the date that the lineup was Jenny, the Confession of a Hairstylist, Larissa Dole, Nina from Passion Square, Jay Wesley Olsen, all like legends in the hair industry that have been platform educators for L'Oreal before, have been known for centuries in the hair industry. And here I am in between them asking, what the heck am I doing here? And that was the first chance for me to be in front of a big crowd. And that's pretty much, I could say, when my career started as an educator started, and when I was recognized like truly as an educator and a potential influencer in the educator world, you know. And I managed to be the only one in that lineup who got a standing ovation to my
Oh,
first hair.
oh my gosh. Yes. Of course you did.
And then I entered for the Behind the Chair award. 2015 was the first year when Behind the Chair came up with the one shot category. Before that, they only had the hot shot, where you could enter those professional pictures done in a professional manner by a professional photographer and all that. And that summer was the first summer they came up with this category where you can enter whatever you took pictures behind the chair, right?
Mhm.
And I'm really entering because my cousin told me I have a chance, not because I thought I have a chance. And I entered for braids and updo. I made it as a finalist on both categories. And in September, I'm going to New Orleans, not because I thought I will win or I have a chance to win. I literally have had like no faith in myself. God
Oh,
had so much in me and I had none.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
I was,
because I take a picture with Sam Villa and Guy Tang and all these legends in the hair industry, all my idols. I wanted to be there and meet them in person and take a picture with them. I'm wearing a pair of jeans and a black shirt. I have no makeup on. I'm not prepared for anything. I'm just there to soak it all up and see what could potentially my life become if I'm
yeah,
serious about it.
yeah.
And I win the updo category. And I'm stuck on my seat. I can't even get up because I couldn't believe it.
You
And I'm
are.
getting up on stage and I don't even know what to say. And all I managed to say is grab my award and say, "Thank you, Jesus. I know this was you." And I'm looking at all that crowd cheering for me. And I'm like, how do these people know me?
Oh,
How do they know me? I don't even
you-
know who I am or what I'm doing
you're like,
here.
I'm still figuring that out.
And I'm like literally leaving the stage. And I think
Oh my gosh,
everyone
wow.
super voted for me. And I leave the stage like running because I felt like crying. And I'm going to sleep that night in the hotel room and I'm holding my dear award. And the moment I hugged that award, I remembered that only 1 year ago, I promised God in that back room
Was it 1 year?
that if He helps me make a living through hair only, I will tell every person sitting in my chair how He changed my life around. And at that point, I did not have a chair anymore because I was able to give up on the salon, give up on my job as a property manager, give up on my weekends in the senior houses because I was making enough money educating on weekends only. Only 1 year later, and then another thing came through my mind. Right before I decided to give it a try to the bridal industry, my boss wanted to promote me as her right hand.
Oh,
And eventually, if we grew together, a chance of partnership. And I said no to that offer.
that would have been the first
That
time that you've said no. Like, as in,
was the first time when I
yeah.
said no. That happened 1 week after I had that encounter with my client and going through that failure, right?
Mhm.
So I was ready to give up on my salon life. And I said no to a promotion that could be possibly a partnership in a real estate company
Mhm.
without even thinking about it.
Yeah, that's,
And my boss said, "Why?" And I said, "I'm dreaming to make a living through hair only and leave this job." And my boss, who was 50 something years old, had nothing to do with hair,
Mhm.
said, "Okay, I support you. What are you doing to make it there?" And I have no answer because I have no plan because I'm ready to give up on hair, right?
You're like, actually, that's kind of
And
crushing at this point.
no, actually, my Instagram account, it was not opened by me. My boss told me at that table, at that lunch, at that promotion offer, that if I go on Instagram, that's the future, and I might get a chance to get clients and make a living through hair faster. And I tell my 50 something year boss that has nothing to do with hair that I don't know anything about Instagram, that I'm almost 40 years old. I don't know what a hashtag is, and that is for the younger generation only. And my boss tells me that I should trust her judgment and that she will help me open an Instagram account and she will teach me how to post on Instagram. So my Instagram handle and my Instagram account is actually my boss's idea.
Created from, isn't that interesting that like one of the greatest assets that you've created, your following of like over 633,000 in your community, was created from one of the jobs that you used to had, your third job that you had when you first moved, and that led you on the path. Like that is one of the pinnacle moments that led you on the path to where you are now. Isn't that
But
incredible?
the crazy thing is that she opened the Instagram account for me. She taught me what a hashtag means, how to tag the big pages, and how to get that exposure. And then she handed the phone back to me and she said this to me. And this is what stuck with me and what I remember when I hugged my award that night and I fell asleep with it in my arms. She said this to me: Lala, mark my words, 1 year from now, everyone will know who Lala Subdues is. And the moment she said that to me, I remember that I started to cry at the table because it was the first time since I made it in United States when someone was willing to support me and help me unconditionally. And not only that, but believed so much in me that made me that moment to believe that I can actually can.
Well, it was like that
And her
surrender, like where you were like, oh, I'm being supported, like not only by God or like your real estate, your boss, you had that support, which is what you craved.
her words stuck with me and had so much influence in my heart and my mind that at that moment I started to believe that I can actually turn my dreams into reality. And 1 year later, I was in New Orleans hugging my award and getting recognitions from the hair industry, barely being an educator. I just started doing bridal hair behind the chair. I was still playing with my mannequin doll. And I'm getting an award for something that people worked years and years to get recognized for. And God made it to happen for me in a matter of a year. I literally surpassed all the steps that normally someone goes through the hair industry to make it where I made it in just 1 year. And 1 year later, I remember my boss words: 1 year from now, Lala, everyone will know who Lala Subdues is. And living that belief and getting to experience and seeing materialized, it just gave me so much more drive and so much motivation to keep going, and chase the next dream and turn it into reality and chase it to the next one. Because we all have dreams when we make it to the hair industry. And the first dream is to get recognized and be known, right? And once you made it there and you got a little bit of recognition, you want to work with the big brands so you can be even more known, right? And once you get to work with the big brands, then you want to make it to the big stages. And once you make it to the big stages, you dream about making it to the big stages representing your own brand. And when you make it there and you represent your own brands on the big stages, what is left? To win awards, I've done that. What is left? Either to open a school or open a salon, correct? Or come up with your own line of products. I came up with my own line of products in 2020 up with my crimper. And then what are you dreaming of? You're dreaming of making it on the big stages and representing your own name and brand. And I managed to do that in 2019, only 4 years in my bridal career. I managed to make it on all the big stages in the United States and represent Lala Subdu's brand, which was a huge deal because in the United States, nobody gets on stage to represent their own brand. Nobody. The only person getting on the big stages representing their own brands at this point is Guy Tang. That's
Wow,
it.
I did not actually realize that. I thought,
All the legends in the
yeah,
industry go up on stage, they represent the brands that they represent, like Joico or Matrix or L'Oreal. They are not representing their own name or brand. And at this
wow.
point, Guy Tang and myself are the only ones who managed to get on those stages and represent their own brand and name. And then once you do that, you're thinking, okay, what's next? Either a salon or a school. I am not a salon person. I can't be a boss. I have such a big heart. I can't fire anyone. Everyone will be in my head and doing whatever they want. I'm like, no. And education eventually became my passion, like making a difference in people's life. It's my passion, and it's been my passion all my life. That's why I chose psychology when I was back in my country. And I dreamed about opening a school, but my schedule was so busy traveling that I never actually found the time to open an academy. And I was kind of forced to make this dream come true in 2021. My husband was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer. In He went through a major surgery. He had a huge tumor removed, and we've been told at the end of 2021 that beginning of 2022 he will have to start doing chemo. So that's when I realized that I'm not going to be able to travel every weekend anymore because I didn't know how much he's going to need me around. We don't have any family here. So I knew I have to be around and be there for him and for my family. And that's when I started to think about opening that academy, because most of my income was coming from educating in the past 8 years. But I was educating at hair shows every 2 months, all the shows around the United States, and also by teaching in salons. And that meant that I was gone every single weekend for the past 8 years. I traveled and I saw the world through this education program. But I realized I'm not going to be able to do that because of what happened to my husband. So that's when I started to look for put my budget together and make this happen. And in February of last year, my husband started chemo in January, and in February I opened Lala's Bridal Academy in Fort Lauderdale. And with a lot of prayers and a lot of hopes that I would be able to make it, since my husband was not able to work anymore, everything pretty much fell on my shoulders. And I found myself getting another loan for the academy, and then paying rent for another space, and then keeping up with the medical bills, and then a daughter who went to college. And I was literally financially responsible for everything in last year and carrying everything on my shoulders, on top of being booked Monday to Saturday at the academy. I had a class every single day from February to September. I was scared when I opened because I don't know if I'm going to be able to financially keep up with everything. But God bless me, that to the point that I got so exhausted that I had to take Saturdays off in September because I couldn't do it anymore, because I was Monday to Saturday working in the academy, teaching classes, and on Sunday I was trying to keep up with my online education, my emails, my editing, tutorials, content, social media, husband, you name it.
Everything.
Everything. So I decided to take Saturdays off, and I found myself at the end of the last year not having any strength left in me for anything or any desire to keep going. And to the point where I started to resent what I was doing because I was so tired. And I felt like I was not doing it because I was loving it anymore. It felt more like I was doing it because it's paying the bills and I have to stay on top of it. I didn't have time to create anymore. Everything was in a rush. And I found myself at the New Year's Eve in a cabin secluded in the mountains because I needed that isolation and I needed that rest with my family. And in our culture on New Year's Eve, we always put a wish for the next year. And I found myself in between the years 2022 to 2023 with my husband and my daughter by my side. And I found myself whispering, and I said, God, I do not want anything in 2023. All I want is peace and rest. That's all I'm asking for. And I'm making it home a week later, and then my hands and my toes are starting to act up, and I start to feeling sicker and sicker and sicker, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm starting to cancel classes because I cannot use my hands anymore. And eventually I make it to 3 different specialists, going through intensive testing for 3 weeks. And by the end of February, I was diagnosed with Raynaud's syndrome, which is an autoimmune condition, and arthritis in my back, my hands, and my knees. And again, a condition caused by which it's a autoimmune condition. They don't know what causes it. There is no cure for it. I was put on because both conditions are triggered mainly by stress. I was put on depression medication, and then pain medication, and steroids. And then in a matter of month, I became a zombie that was not able to function properly. or work because it was not helping much. I would have days when I couldn't hold a fork in my hands anymore because my hands were so swollen and stiff.
Oh.
And my fingers would get stuck in a straight position for hours, not being able to move them or hold anything in my hands. And I found myself canceling class after class after class, bookings that were done the year before, classes that were paid already, money that were spent already. And I'm starting to like do a lot of refunds or classes that I couldn't uh, teach anymore because I couldn't use my hands. And of course, that put an even more bad toll on my health because it's triggered by stress. And
Yeah.
my still not working. I'm responsible financially about everything. And I keep canceling classes, giving money back, money that I'm not making anymore because nobody is booking my classes anymore. I don't know what's going on. I'm asking for rest and peace, and suddenly I come home and nobody's booking a class. Being from Saturday booked and 6 months in advance to not getting any booking. I'm like, what in the world is going on?
You're like, thank you, but no
I'm,
thank you.
and I'm going through a nervous breakdown, the worst and the ugliest I have ever had in my life. And I find myself on the floor being out and not being responsive and out in my own world. And that's when I took the decision to close the academy, clear my schedule, and take off for 3 weeks. And this is something that I have done throughout my life every time I had hardship. And this is an advice that I give to every woman out there and every mom and every business wife, whatever you are, and the condition you are in and the circumstances you are in. Anytime you're going through something tough, you need to get back to yourself, and you cannot find yourself unless you disconnect from everything. And I'm not talking about TV and phone and business and daily life. I'm talking about disconnecting yourself even from your family. That means they know where you're going, they know you're going to be there for 5 6 days a week. You're gonna text them in AM that you're okay, and at night that you're okay, and you are not opening the TV, you are not touching the phone, you are out in the nature with yourself, and you're going back to your roots, and you get that clarity and the rest, and you dive big. Let me tell you something. We already know the answer. When we're leaving the
I
house,
love
we
this.
already know, we know what we need to do. But we not have the strength to take that decision when we are surrounded by everything that brought us down. Okay,
And by
we
our
need to do
responsibilities or anything,
that.
anybody else, because as a mum, especially, or a wife, you're always like putting other people first. So you can't actually get into what your needs are or tap into what your soul is already telling you that you already know. I love this so much.
Yes. And when I took the decision to leave the house, that was when I took the decision to write finally my memoirs. Why did I take the decision to use that time to write my memoirs? Since the beginning of my career, I made a purpose, and I promised myself that each class I have and each stage performance that I have, I will shortly share how God changed my life around, right? And I made a rule to always mention that in my performances on stage and classes. And every time, and I have done this every weekend for the past 8 years. So that means I met a lot of people in these 8 years, right? And every time I got off stage or I finished the class, people would stay to talk to me after the class and the show, and nobody would mention anything about my craft. And my craft is good. That's how I got where I'm at today, because of my craft, right?
Yeah.
And nobody mentioned anything about what I taught on stage. All they mentioned was my story, how it inspired them, how they saw me the year before or at that class or at that show, how it made them go back to school, get out of that bad relationship, open their own suite, get out of that toxic environment at their salon, open their own salon. So all I could hear for the past 8 years is how my story inspired them. And if you should write a book. If you would write a book, I would buy it tomorrow and I would share it with everyone because your story inspired me to chase my dreams. And this is what I've been hearing for the past 8 years, every single weekend, to the point where I started to ask God, God, is this something that you're trying to tell me? Is this a message that I keep hearing? Are you trying to tell me something? Or is it me just imagining things and my passion for writing? Because I am passionate about writing since I was a kid. And I've been writing all my life, but not for the eyes of others, right?
Mhm.
And God is sending me several signs. Yes, my dear, my will for to write that book. When are you going to start?
Oh, that's so good.
And with all these signs, I tell God, God, I need one sign from you, one that will leave me with like no doubt that this is your will for me to write
Mm.
this book. And in 2019, the first year when I made it on the big stages, all the big stages around the United States, representing my own brand, I'm going to California for a show, and I have a lady running after me on the hallway as I'm ready to go into a hands-on class after I finish my stage performance. And she says, "Hi, my name is Rhonda. I flew from Portland. For the past 6 months, every time I landed on your page, God put it on my heart to direct message you and tell you that you need to write that book."
Oh my goodness.
And I look at her and I'm like, she was probably at the stage. She heard a little bit about my story, right?
You're like
And I look
justifying
at her,
it.
"You're telling me you flew from Portland just to tell me that?" She was like, "Yes. My flight was yesterday. It got canceled. I made it here this morning. I missed your stage performance. I asked everyone around for you. And I'm so glad I caught you. I thought I missed you. And I it felt awkward to just direct message you. I'm a stranger. You don't know me. And I felt it's gonna be better in person. But now looking at you, I don't know if that was a good idea, because I know I sound like a crazy person. But I came here. I told you what God told me to tell you. Now I can go home and get my peace."
Oh my
And I'm looking
goodness.
at the lady, and I'm asking her again, "So you're telling me you flew all the way from Portland to come and tell me that God put it on your heart to tell me that I need to write that book?" And she's like, "Yes."
And
Do
then
I sound crazy?
God's like, because you weren't getting the message.
Nope. Let me tell you what I was praying before I left home. I prayed for a sign that would leave me with no doubt that it's His will for me to write this book. And I'm going home, Kayla, and I'm buying my notebook and my pens. And I'm like, every free second that I have, I'm gonna dedicate that to you, God, and I'm gonna write my memoirs. Fast forward to 2023, Lala never found the time for it. And every
Oh.
time I get a new sign, I will tell God, "God, you see my schedule. I mean, really, when would I have time to write a book? I don't have time to write a book. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time." And that was my excuse for another 4 years, until God one day was like, "You know what? I can't and bring you to the next step that I have planned for you unless I kick your butt again. So how about I take your hands away?"
So you have no option. You've got lots of rest and peace and time to write a book.
But then I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna take off, but how am I going to write if I can't even
Talk
like
with
wipe my butt and keep a fork in my hands,
Mm,
right? And I talk to
mm.
my mom and I have a pity party and I complain to her, and my mom is like, "You can dictate. I saw the kids around here, they dictate. They don't write anymore. You can dictate. That's not an excuse." So I'm going to Utah, a small town in Utah, to an old friend of mine for 3.5 weeks, with the decision to get back to myself, to get some clarity and decide what I'm going to do next and write my book. And I go to Salt Lake City, and I did not know my friend doesn't live in Salt Lake City. She lived in a small town called Hiram, an hour and a half from Salt Lake City. And I keep wondering why God guided me there. And I make it there, and it's just a few thousand people, a small town, secluded, surrounded by mountains.
Oh,
Everything
yeah.
closes after 6, 7 o'clock, nowhere to go, nothing to do, no nothing to other than just go to the library every day and focus on writing the book. So I started writing my book on April 12th, which happens to be my lucky number because that's my birthday. I was born at 12 at noon.
Oh my goodness. You're
And I made it there
magical.
April, and I started writing on April 12th. And on my first day at the library, I'm trying to figure out why I'm there, why God guided me there, why in this small town. And I'm Googling to see what Hiram means. And it comes from Hebrew, and it means his name will be exalted. And I'm sitting in that little library and I'm like crying my heart out. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna write this book and I'm gonna finish it till I leave Utah. I promise you. And second day I wake up, Kayla, and my hands are completely normal.
Oh my goodness. Perfectly fine. No, nothing.
Perfectly fine. And
He's
I'm
like, hey,
writing my
now you can write.
and I'm leaving Utah 3.5 weeks later with my book written, handwritten. And it was not really like a book. It was everything that I remember, right?
Mhm.
So it was still a lot of work in putting into chapters, making the story flow,
Yeah.
making it like a book, right? And I'm coming back home and I'm ready to jump back into what I had before, meaning the academy, the teaching,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and
Interesting.
I'm going
Yeah.
back to it a week later after I made it home, and then my hands go back
So you had
because
like
I
the
don't have time more to finish the book because I am busy with the academy, right?
Mhm.
And my hands are back and I can't use my hands anymore. So I need to cancel classes again. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. The more I'm trying to go back to what I had, the more my health
Mm.
goes down. So I had to come to the tough decision in June to close down my academy, focus on my online only. While I was in Utah, I realized that everything that I have applied to my business in this 8 years, it's something that I have done entirely on my own
Mhm.
without being taught, without being supported, without being guided. I have learned it the hard way and applied it to my business. And then I realized everything that I have done, becoming an educator, working with big brands, representing my own brand, making it on the big stages, coming up with my own tool, an online platform education, a big social presence, uh, you name it, everything that it's Lala's Abdius brand. Probably there are thousands of people. I thought about myself when I started and how much I would have loved to know and learn. And I couldn't afford it because back then, a bridal class back in 2014 was $1,000, which was
Mhm.
insane back then.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
couldn't afford to learn it on my own. But I had so many people coming to my classes that were very talented stylists, but they were not good business people. They did not know how to run a business. And regardless of how good their skills were, they couldn't make money because they didn't know how to run their business. And being in Utah for 3 weeks by myself, I realized how much more I have. We've been so programmed that we can make money only using our hands and through hard work that we do not realize how much money we can make through our knowledge, not necessarily, and through our brain,
Yeah.
using our brains, necessarily our hands. And that's when I realized, okay, I can come back and teach all that. I can teach you all the skills in the world, and you're not going to make it. You're not going to be able to
Mhm.
use those hairstyling skills because you do not know how to run a business and make money. And
Mhm.
that's what actually is really important because there are a lot of people in the industry that are not so talented, but because they are good business, let's say that is it. It is. There are a lot of people who are not talented, but they have a brain for business, and they make more money than the people are talented because they
Oh,
know how to
yeah.
run. And that's when I realized,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to go back. And even if I took the decision to close the academy, I have so much more to offer,
Mhm.
so much more.
Mhm.
And I closed the academy in June. I had my last class in June 30th. And that's when I started to focus completely on finishing the book and keeping my promise. And I finally made it. And now I'm working on a styling book.
Oh, a
Now that I got it,
hairstyling book? A
a,
hairstyling book or a
a
business?
step-by-step styling book. And I
Oh,
will tell you, I know people are going digital now,
mhm.
and everyone likes everything digital. But I would say probably 20 to 30% of my students coming at my academy were in their 40s, 50s, even 60s.
Mm.
And these are people who told me, I wish people still printed books. I hate to be on social media.
Mhm.
I I just I wish I had a book with a step by step where I don't have to
Yeah.
go back and watch that video 100 times and maybe I'm going to miss a move. I just
Yeah.
want to look at the picture and repeat that step and then look at the next
Mhm.
picture and have it in front of me to show it to my client and not go through the phone when my Wi-Fi is not working. And I heard this so much, then I was
Mhm.
like, you know what? Even if the future is digital and I'm already adapting to that and I'm on board, we were forgetting that there is a generation out there that not necessarily doesn't know how to use it, but it gives them no pleasure to be on
Yeah.
social media,
Well,
to
it's
look
also
for it.
like everybody's learning, the way that people learn is so
Diff-
different. And so some people, like
Yeah.
even my students, some people, even for like my mentoring students or clients, they prefer like step by step action versus me having a conversation and verbally speaking it. But some people love that, and it's just everybody has different like learning ways, abilities.
Yeah.
But I feel like also, you know how you on Instagram you get like the video tutorial, but you can also get the step by step. So many
Hmm.
people love like they see the step by step and it makes sense for them. But if you in a video just doing it and moving it, I learn like that. That's how I can learn. But there's also clients that I've had or students that I've had that I've been educating, and they're like, I just need to see this like a snapshot of each step. And that would be really supporting those students. I love that.
So that's my next project now that my book is published and it's launching on my birthday, 12/12. And my book is a collection of stories. I wouldn't say that it's like a long story. It starts from the beginning, the way I was born, the way I was not supposed to born. Actually, that's another story, and I would let
Ooh,
my
that gives me
your audience
goosebumps.
to read the book
Yeah.
because supposed to be born. And actually my mother hid her pregnancy until she was 7.5 months old with me, because otherwise she would have been forced to have an abortion, because she was an epileptic who already
Oh
lost a child, so she was forbidden to have kids, so I was not actually supposed to be born.
my gosh.
And the book is a compilation of stories from the moment I was born, and how was how I was not supposed to born, into like literally to today, going through everything,
Mhm.
like my life in Romania, life under communism, life as a child, growing up, my role models, what built me and molded me into the woman that I am today, my dreams of making it here, my startup in America, my career in the hair industry, and now this new beginning where I don't know exactly where I'm standing, but I'm excited for it,
Love
and I'm still in peace with.
it.
I have when I go down and I'm like, why did I have to build all this just to lose everything overnight? And then I realize
Mm,
that you didn't lose anything, you're just growing, you're
it's
expanding, you're into your
evolving.
next era.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have days when I have to talk myself out of it.
Mm,
But overall, I wouldn't change one thing. That's one thing that I want to leave everyone with. I wouldn't change one thing, because every decision to say yes to the unknown brought me closer to turning one of my dreams into reality. And like I said, you cannot achieve new things repeating the same things that you have done for so long. And I encourage everyone out there to not take no for an answer. To not
mm,
I've been told that I'm a pretty face with no brain in school, that I should come back when my English improves, that I even was denied, my application was denied.
yeah.
I encounter a lot of racial things when I came here, because my accent was so strong, and I was people thought I'm Russian, that I'm Ukrainian, that I'm you name it, and I was like, anything hard that could probably happen to me, it happened to me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at people who are Native American, who've been born here, who have all the opportunities to succeed, and they stumble in little things, or what people tell them that they
Yes.
can and they cannot do, or what they think that they can and
Yes.
they cannot. And you don't know what you can do until you try to do
Oh.
that thing. And I would rather leave with the regret that I tried and didn't
Mhm.
succeed it, than with the regret that I what if.
Well,
And this is something I touch in my beyond the ponytail awards. That's,
mhm.
I think, I how I finish my presentation. I tell every one of my students when it was on my class, I wanted to start your journey with, what if I do this, instead of finishing it with it. You don't want to get at the end of the life and wonder yourself, what if I would have
Yes.
tried that? What if I did that? How would my life would be? I don't want to have any regret. Like, I
Oh,
often talk to my husband. I got out of a bad marriage 8 years ago, remarried. This is my second marriage, and I look back at my life the past 8 years, when I decided to leave the circles that I was hanging out with because there was no growth. I decided to leave a marriage that was not working for 14 years. I tried and it was not working, and leave it behind. And I chose to step into the unknown. And I lived in 8 years more than I lived in 39
yes.
years. I keep
Wow.
talking to and I say to him, if tomorrow, or this is my last minute, I can go happy. I have like literally no regrets.
Mhm.
Yes, I want to experience more. I want to be a grandma. I want to see my grandkids. I want to write more books. I want to travel the world and learn more things. But if tomorrow would be my last day, I would have no regrets. And this is what I tell everyone. I want you to not take no for an answer, and build a life that you don't need to escape from. Because that's what life is
Mm.
about.
Yeah.
Life is about enjoying it, living it, experience new things every day, even if it's pain and sorrow. you
Hmm.
know there is still beauty, and in every negative things that happens in our life, there is some beauty in it.
There's always, oh my gosh, you made me cry for like the fourth time. Oh
And
my
I
God.
feel like the whole time to let you ask me anything or say anything.
I'm like in admiration. I just love your
I
story
have
so
to say,
much.
let me talk, I'm gonna talk. I have
Yeah,
a
like
lot.
if there is a stage, I'm on it and I've got lots to say. It's so funny because I feel like that's me. And it's if you get me on the stage, I'm like, blah, 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 and I'm like, I've got so much to say. And I'm like, take a seat because I'm going to like so many truth bombs. But I love everything that you shared, Lala, because I think the greatest gift that you are giving, even now in this conversation, and also in your memoirs, and also your books that are coming, and your education, is that you share your heart and you share like the vulnerability and the challenges and the adversity and everything that you've gone through to get to this point. And from the outside looking in, like you mentioned at the start, where from the outside looking in, you can perceive that it's been a really easy journey, and you can perceive that, oh, you've been so lucky and everything's just worked out for you. And so, what I love is that you being vulnerable and sharing the depths of your story and everything that it's taken for you to get to where you are now, and all of the challenges that you've had to go through to get to where you are now, is a perfect example of never giving up and staying in alignment and showing up for what your vision is, even when you're hit with a no again and again and again, or even when it feels like the world is crumbling and you've got a diagnosis that you need to like close down your academy and then shift and pivot and change. But like, you really do keep showing up for you and showing up for like what your purpose is and showing up for your daughter and your family. And I just, oh my gosh, I love and admire you so much.
One thing that I want to tell every woman and man out there is that nobody's going to show up for you.
Mhm.
You may show up all your life for everyone, and your life is going to spin around everyone else except yourself. But you cannot pour from an empty cup, you know? You can't. And you cannot be an example for your kids if you're sitting home and preach to them how they can go and become so and so, or they have the power or the strength to do that, while they see you sitting at home and giving up on all your dreams. How are you going to inspire them to go and achieve that,
I
or
feel
live the
like,
if you're giving up on the life of your
mm,
dreams? You
I feel
can't.
like,
And the only person that actually can show up for you, it's you. Nobody else will. And if you continue to show up just for others and not for yourself, that's not a life lived. That's a life survived, because you're not living your life. You're living the life of others you want you to live.
oh my gosh. I feel like, you know how you were talking about your real estate, the boss that you had, where you had that
Yeah.
she was like pushing you in that direction. One of the greatest challenges that I have as a mum that I struggle with all the time is my guilt, because when I was younger, my mum was home with us full time. She didn't work. She was at home with us until I was 13. And yet I'm living a very bipolar different life where I'm like, I have a very clear vision of exactly where I'm going and what I'm creating and how that's going to ripple out beyond for our industry and how it's going to change the lives of women and how they're going to create the life that they want for their families and all these things, right? So I'm like completely lit up by that. But then equally, the guilt holds me back because I'm like, am I putting myself first? Am I being like, and so hearing your story has like, and what you just shared has shifted, it shifts so much for me, and I know it's going to shift so much for everybody who's listening, because I know for my own clients, like they equally have a very similar experience where they're like, oh, but am I going to be if I, you know, grow my business, or if I achieve this, will that mean that I won't be here for my family? And does that mean that they're going to lose out? It's like you're sacrificing your family for your business, or you're sacrificing your family for what you desire. But what I love, exactly what you shared, and I am not kidding, wrote this down here last night in my journal because it came through, was like how me following my dreams and me following what lights me up the most is actually giving my children the permission to do the exact same thing. And so I can't be the one that's like, go out and do everything and chase everything. And yet I never did that in my life. And so I loved everything that you shared, because I am not kidding. I will send you a photo of what I've written down here. It's literally exactly what you mentioned.
Resonated, and hopefully they are going to resonate and inspire others to go and chase those dreams, not take a no for an answer, and not believe anyone that tells them. Like, for example, when I went to school, my husband told me that I should not go, that I should be home and I should take care of my daughter, and my friends from church told me the same thing, that that's not the right thing to do. And the more I got into school, and the harder it got, the more I heard that over and over again, that I'm not doing the right thing. And I said, you know what? I am willing to sacrifice my daughter's childhood when she doesn't remember much for a year, 2 or 3, to give her the future she will remember about.
Yes.
Because now when I talk to my daughter, like I asked my daughter, for example, like a while back when I was still feeling guilty about the way I raised her. And I said, what do you remember from the years when mama really struggled between 3 jobs? And I thought my daughter is going to tell me uh, that she didn't have nice shoes, nice clothes, that she slept in the back room of my salon or the couches of people. And I will leave you with this, Kayla. This is what my daughter told me, and this is what my daughter remembers from those years of challenge for me and hardship. She remembers how I was letting her blow dry my client's hair, and how I would let her play with my mannequin dolls in the back room. And she remembers how the other kids were not allowed to have junk food, but she was allowed to. And she thought she is like being spoiled, but it was just me. Just eat something. Mommy is busy, right? And she remembers like letting her putting one flower in someone's hair when I went and did someone's and because we are always on the road, we would like constantly eat like at fast foods, but for her it was like always spending time with me. So this is what my daughter told me that she remembers from those times. She didn't mention one negative thing about those years when I thought I'm struggling and I'm not raising her right. She remembers how much time she spent with me, and although I thought it's not quality time, for her it meant a lot.
Yeah.
So for all the moms out there, I trust me, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and the way you're raising your kids, it doesn't have to be the same way as your neighbor. It doesn't have to be the same way as your mom. It doesn't have to be the same way as your sister or anyone else that is telling you. You decide how you're teaching those kids how to live their lives, and you decide what your future is going to look like. And your future can look like what people are telling you it's going to look, or it can look like the dreams in your head, which you're turning into reality step by step.
I love that so much. You made me cry again.
I didn't mean to. I'm passionate to see ladies go out there and chasing those dreams, regardless of their circumstances. Because if anyone can succeed, if I could succeed, who had no chance to succeed. I came in this country with no money, no family, no support. Nothing that I did in my country was recognized. I had to start everything from scratch. I carried my child with me in the places I worked. I worked 3 jobs. I knew no English. I made a brand out of nothing without being supported, without being a platform artist, without being educated into what I'm doing today. I educated myself and I built the life of my dreams, regardless of my circumstances. So I'm going to leave you with this because we've been too long. When I was a child, I used to get excited about everything. And the moment it started to get hard, I would give up. That was me as a child. I was not like I am today. But because I had a mother who taught me good lessons, this is what my mom told me when I was 12 years old. I don't remember exactly what I started again and what I wanted to learn, but it got hard. And then I got disappointed again and went and complained to her again. And she said this to me: Lala, I'm sick and tired of you starting things and never finishing them because they get hard. Next time you're coming and talking to me, I want you to tell me what solutions you came up for that problem and not why it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you this: your success in life, Lala, because I was called Lala since I was a child, is based on how many solutions you can come up for your problems, not how many excuses you can find. And this is what I'm leaving your audience with as well.
Oh, that's powerful.
Your success of turning those dreams into reality is based on how many solutions you can come up with for those excuses, not how many solutions you can come up for those problems, not how many excuses, because excuses could never end. But our time is not endless. Mm-hmm. Excuses are endless, but our time is not. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you if you're living the life of your dreams in the next 6 years or less, or are you going to live the same life for the rest of your life?
Because nothing changes if nothing changes.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, Lala, I have to say thank you so much. We are probably going to make this a double episode because this was incredible and we went so deep. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing your life with the world.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share my journey with your audience. Hopefully they're going to be interested in my book and support me in this new journey. The book is available on my website on Amazon. It's called Dandelions by Laura Chihaya, and you can learn more and discover even more painful, but in the same time, funny stories about my life.
It's really like a mix of emotion. I feel like I've laughed and cried at the same time. I'm probably going to cry again now.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, listening, supporting my craft. I would not be where I'm at today. I know it's part of it's mainly because God's blessing and favor over me, and then my hard work. But I realized that I would not be able to achieve anything that I have done so far without the love and support of everyone out there. So thank you.
Thank you for joining me today, gorgeous. If you're loving this episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you could take a screenshot, share and tag me in all of your socials. I love seeing this podcast reach as many ears because I want to help so many women access more time, more revenue, more growth in their business without sacrifice. This is my absolute goal for this podcast. So don't forget to hit subscribe or follow and leave an epic 5-star review, because for every review, you will receive free access to my Ignite Master Course, which was worth $2,991. So Ignite was a 3-hour business growth conversation to help you overcome your challenges, accelerate your business, and implement strategies that will help you to access more revenue, more time, and more growth, and help you to create the lifestyle and business of your dreams in the next 12 months. For every review, I will send you through access for Ignite Master Course. This is insanely epic. So once you've left your review, send me a DM with the word Ignite and I'll send you through your discount code so you can access Ignite for free, gorgeous. Thank you so much for joining me, and I shall see you in the next episode.